Sport Fishing on the Fly is brought to you by Togen's Fly Shop, Maui Jim Sunglasses, and Hardy Rods and Reels.
Hey folks, welcome back to On the Bench. Today I'm going to tie you up a Mahogany Mayfly. It's a soft Hackle Emerger. Fly I was using in September in the Columbia worked really well for the Mahoganies. Make sure you have these materials handy before you tie the fly. For hook, I'm using an Arex size 14. It's their Freshwater Series super dry hook and it's barbless. For thread, I'm using Rust Brown in 12/0. For the trailing Shuck, as well as the Hackle, I'm using Whiting Farms. It's Brahma Hen in mottled gray. The rib is Semperfli Micro Glint tinsel in brown. And the Thorax is Semperfli. It's the gel core body Micro Fritz in dark brown by Semperfli. Now, if you don't have the Micro Glint or the gel core body Micro Fritz, you could use peacock curl for this or ostrich curl. You could use wire for this. You don't have to use exactly what I'm using. So you can just go ahead and start your thread on the hook. And I'm going to bring it all the way down the bend. Quite far down. Next, I'm taking the Brahma Hen, and I'm just going to take just a few pieces, maybe about four or five, to use as a trailing Shuck. You could use Antron for this if you prefer Antron. So I'm just going to take that and then do one wrap, and I'm just going to pull it to length. I don't want it very long, just a little hint of a Shuck coming off there. Take a turn underneath. Snip that away. Bring my thread back up. And I'm just going to start building a little taper in here. Maybe come about 3/4 of the way down. Back up again. Maybe just about halfway. That's good enough. I'm going to take my ribbing material. I'm using the Micro Glint. If you don't have the Micro Glint, like a brown wire would work good for this. Copper wire. Even red wire. I had one that I had done in red, and it worked as well. I'm just going to tie that in right down the side to where my Shuck starts. I'm just going to make sure I'm covering this all back up again. Now take your ribbing material, and I'm just going to counterwind it in nice even spaces, maybe about 4 or 5, not too many. And at this point, once you tie the ribbing material off, you could give it a little UV resin. For the purpose of the video, I am not going to do that right now. Now take your Thorax material, and I'm using the Gel Core Micro Fritz by Semperfli, new material that came out this year. Really impressed with it. Really reminds me of peacock curl or ostrich curl, but it's a lot stronger. I'm just going to tie in a little piece and then just wrap it around, maybe 3 times. If you don't have this material, peacock curl or ostrich curl would be totally fine to use. Just tie that off. going to take my feather that I've chosen that has the hackle, the length that I want. I just sort of measure it up against the hook and see how far it's going to come back. That's about right. And I like to tie mine in by the tip. You could tie it in North Country, like spider style, before you do your body. I've done them that way as well, but this is still my preferred way of tying in a feather. I'm just going to give my thread a little bit of wax. I like to wax actually the underside of my thread and then just give it a wrap or two, and that holds it on both sides. And then just shorten up your thread. So I've got a very, very short, I'm holding the little triangle that I cut out there for in the top of the stem. Sorry if I didn't mention that I did that. So I just tied it in by the tip. Some people prefer to tie the tip in and then cut it afterwards. I like to cut it beforehand. So I'm just pulling it gently through my fingers. I haven't peeled any of the feather. These Brahma hen feathers are really nice and long and easy to hang on to for me, and I prefer not to use hackle pliers. I just don't like them if I can get away with it. So that's another reason why I really love Brahma hens. I'm probably going to do maybe just 1.5 to 2 wraps. And just tie that off. Wiggle it through so you're not trapping any of the hackle down. You can help it. And then I'm just going to give it a couple in front before I snip my feather away. Just go in here and try to snip the feather without snipping much of the hackle off. And now I just take my fingers and sweep it back. Build a nice little neat head. And whip finish. I like to give it 2. Yeah, this fly was really good this past September. Caught lots of fish with it. One of the fish I caught, I was just hanging it in the water while I was getting my line off the reel. It was just sitting there, and a fish came and trout came and grabbed it in the Columbia. And that's it, my Mahogany Mayfly soft hackle. Thanks for joining me on this edition of On the Bench. Take care, everyone. Conserve the waters and tight lines.